I'm now going to continue my video series on Eusebius with this. According to Eusebius, Christianity wasn't some new religion that appeared in the Roman Empire. It didn't just spring up overnight. That wasn't the way it worked, okay? He states that many people weren't surprised when Christianity was established. They really weren't. Eusebius starts his discussion on the topic by stating that a new nation was suddenly created. He says that this new nation isn't weak and it wasn't established in some remote corner of the world. It didn't just start at some deserted island somewhere. It didn't work that way. Okay? He claims that this new nation had, according to him, at his time, it had more people than any other nation in that, and that the population of this new nation was and continues to be the most religious nation of any nation. He claims that this new nation is indestructible because the leader of this nation is none other than Jesus of Nazareth. That's what makes it indestructible. Okay? Eusebius supports his claim by citing Isaiah 66 verses 8 through 10. He also quotes Isaiah 62 verse 2. But now I have to give you yet another vocabulary lesson. The etymology of the word intimation comes from the Latin word intimus and is similar to the core of like an apple or the core of, well, you know, like the core of a ping pong ball or whatever. You want, whatever you're saying, it's going to be the core of it, okay? Now, in this case, it means the core message of a theology, in this case, the Christian theology. And the core of Christianity, according to Eusebius, is Jesus. He's the core of the message. Okay? According to Eusebius, the core of Christianity isn't new. After all, Jesus was Jewish. His people were known as Hebrews. Jesus belonged to the Hebrew nation. So the principles of Christianity are actually rooted in the Jewish theology. Jews and Christians both embrace the story of Noah and also Abraham. Okay? Now, even though Christianity embraces the story of Moses, they don't embrace every single one of the religious laws of Moses because they were actually directed to a certain group of people for a certain period of time. Okay? And we'll get into that in just a second. Christians and Jews also embrace, Christians and Jews are also distinguished by modesty, justice, patience, virtue, and by professed piety. Now, what is the etymology of the word piety? It comes from the Latin word pietatum, which means loyalty or duty. In other words, you do something for someone because you feel like it's your duty to do it. It's sort of like when you're a child and you're doing things for your parents because you feel a duty to do that. This is very much something that you would do later in life as your parents become older and they become a little bit more infirmed. You'll do stuff for them because you feel there's kind of an obligation to do that. Because, you know, you want to take care of your parents in their later life. Okay, that's where piety comes from. Alright. So in this case, Christians were doing things because they felt an obligation towards Jesus of Nazareth. Okay? If, you know, when you think about it, Jesus was giving them immortality. Or, well, not immediate immortality, but he said in the end you'll have immortality. When somebody offering you immortality, you might want to do something for them. Get the idea? Okay? Eusebius points out that Christians are different from Jews because they don't embrace circumcision or certain dietary requirements or some of the legalistic Pharisee codes that were given to them by Moses. Okay? Remember, that was Old Testament stuff. That wasn't New Testament stuff. Okay? There was a lot of things that went from the Old Testament to the New, but some of the things did not. And Paul's letters clearly illustrate this. Okay? Christians and Jews, they embrace Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, that kind of thing. Now, Eusebius also quotes Psalms 105 verse 15. Then he quotes Genesis chapter 15 verse 6. According to Eusebius, people are justified by their faith in Jesus. Then Eusebius quotes Genesis 22 verse 18 and Genesis 18 verse 18. Alrighty. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Now that you know all of this extra material, you can go ahead and look it up and see for yourself, and you can actually read it, and you won't have so much difficulty doing so. Alright, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.